You have to give yourself grace for that. There's some days I wake up, I feel like I'm on top of the world, and today I'm killing it. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, oh, what is this cloud over me? And if I push through, I know that then the next day I'll take another step and another step and another step. But as long as you just keep believing, having faith, and taking a step forward, even if it means taking a step back.
If you've outgrown your current path, this is your invitation to step out of the hustle and into your purpose and passion. It can be healing, it can be fun, and it can be strategic. This is where you become the boss goddess in your niche and bring your dreams to life. If you are ready to say yes to redefining what is next for you with podcasting, then I want to invite you to get my Activate Your Passion with Podcast Blueprint. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. This is your free 5-day guide where each day I'll send you an email with guidance and a downloadable prompt, exercise, or tool that you can take some action with to begin to get clear on how to pursue what lights you up with the power of podcasting, from how to get started with your topic to how to build your own ecosystem that you can monetize later. Let's redefine what comes next for you so you can step into your goddess era. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. Hi, and welcome to the Boss Goddess Podcast. This is Barcy, your host. Thank you for joining me today because I know we have some new listeners, so I welcome you. And if you are enjoying these episodes that myself, my team, and my amazing guests have spent weeks putting together for you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in a review, which you can leave at the bottom of the screen in Apple Podcasts or at the bottom of any episode in Spotify, where you can leave a comment. So today, we're talking about the power of our story and telling our story as it really happened. The parts that felt messy and confusing, along with how we found our strength in that and how we created the new action and the things that actually come together that evolve us. So I think there are a lot of entrepreneurial stories on podcasts and otherwise that really focus on just the results and leave out the journey of what it really took to get there. So it can be kind of deceiving for those of us in the middle of our creative journey, our business journey, and our personal journey, and we can very easily feel like we're doing it wrong. So I have to really thank my guests this season who have come onto this podcast and shared the honest truth, the truth of what it really takes, the reality of how it really feels sometimes, and how coming back to what matters and choosing to honor yourself when faced with the real struggles that come up along the way, that is where the real growth lives. And that's what they came on the show to share. That's where the real successes get built. That's where the real evolution gets to come in. So the coming back to the truth of who you are and how we actually get there and continue to work within the ebb and flow of what the process really is of creating something. And my guest today does just that for us. She's nothing short of authentic. She's a bold entrepreneur who's on an amazing path of rediscovery, who's reclaiming her creativity and choosing to share her story to empower someone else because she truly believes, and I quote, that the glory is in her story. Her name is Anika McKelvey, and she's the founder and creator of LAS Travel Loungewear, which just launched this year, by the way, 2025. Her journey in becoming a fashion designer began with a lifelong passion for fashion and travel. She originally set out to design one travel jacket that embraces style and comfort, but as she began this new career path and the design process unfolded, her creativity blossomed and her initial vision transformed into something much greater. So what started out as a single garment quickly expanded into a full clothing line. The name LAS stands for Land, Air, Sea, but it also represents Anika's three children, Landon, Ari, and Sienna, bringing together all the things that has brought her so much joy in her life to you through this clothing line, which is family, fashion, travel, style, comfort, and wellness. Here's my conversation with Anika. So welcome, Anika.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here as well. I feel like you're on a very real and interesting and authentic and beautiful journey at the moment for many reasons. And we'll get into as many of them as we can. But to start, you did something really big this year. You launched a brand new clothing brand called, is it said LAS or is it LAS?
It's LAS, but it does stand for Landon, Ariana, Sienna, which are my children. Also Land Your Sea because it's a travel line. So, I get both and I don't get offended when someone says LAS or LAS, but it is pronounced LAS.
LAS Travel Loungewear.
Yes.
And I say loungewear too because it's both. And I know you kind of people met you with some pushback on combining the two, which is so interesting because to me, it feels so like, duh, of course we want to be comfortable when we travel. But I can see how the fabric world might feel like that's a difficult thing to accomplish, but you're doing it. So tell us a little bit more about that journey.
Well, I'm not a designer by trade. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to draw. But I love travel. I love clothes. I love fashion. And I wanted to create a blanket that's a hoodie. And that was my first garment. And so I took a class and she's like, you don't need to know how to sew. You don't need to know how to draw. If you have a vision, that's what you need. And I was like, okay, ding, 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 this is for me. And I went through the course. As I'm going through the course, though, she's like, but you need a niche, right? So what's your niche? So you have loungewear, there's athletic wear, there's all of that. So I was having some varicose veins that were unsightly, not medical. And I was like, oh, I want to get rid of them. What do? They were like, you can get injections, you can do all these things that, but it's temporary. You're going to keep doing it. And then she said to me, well, what's your lifestyle like? Do you travel a lot? And I was like, yeah, I do. As a soccer mom, as a gymnastics mom, as a wife, and we travel a lot as a family. It's like, yeah. She's like, well, you need to incorporate compression. And then the light bulb went off. And I was like, oh, if I can do travel loungewear with some elements of compression and educate people that compression is really important for traveling, whether you're on a plane or whatever, and that's where it took off for me. And then I designed the whole line with half compression, half not, but really key pieces that make you feel good and comfortable and looking chic through the airport or on the train or at the soccer game or wherever you're going, but also some compression for healthier lifestyle.
I love that, first of all, that you had a great teacher that shared that you just need a vision because those mentors can really breathe, fire into our dreams or they can crush them. So it's really lovely that she really understood how to help motivate you towards believing that this is for you because it's so important to have strong, positive voices like that in our lives when we want to pursue something. Secondly, I love the name because it is representative of your family, which seems to be at the center of your story quite a bit. Your children, the traveling, taking them places. I know that's a big, that takes up a lot of time and space to be there for them in that way. But I want to get back to your sort of creation journey because one, you shared with me before that you're kind of reawakening your creativity again. And it's becoming, it was always there, right? It was always a part of who you were. And you shared before that, you were more connected with it maybe prior to husband and family. Can you take us on that journey of what was that like kind of putting it away and then bringing it back out?
Oh, wow. So you're bringing up an emotional journey for me, but a good one because I do believe in my story, especially after the weekend I just had. I was at a women's Christian conference and to hear the stories of other women really confirmed that I need to tell my story. And so when I met my husband, I was on a creative journey of journalism and wanting to be creative in that space and wanting to be on air and camera and all of that. And then I met my husband, and our worlds kind of collided for good, bad, and indifference. and and I had to pivot my whole world of what I thought I was on a path to. And I was okay with that. And we came together and we decided to have a family. And so the more I became a wife or a partner, because, I'm very transparent with the journey of my husband and I, we didn't get married right away. It was after our children that we really got married. And, sometimes people want to find shame in that, and I don't, because I find that that's a piece of my journey. And there's other women out there that share my story. And I want them to be empowered and say that that's okay. I didn't get married with the white gown and walk down that aisle and then had kids and had 30 years of bliss. That's not my story. And I feel there's other women out there like me that share that journey. So once we decided to get married, I started to lay down layers of myself, peel back layers of myself to fit into a role that I thought the world, my husband, and my children needed of me, and not what I needed of me. I didn't honor me in that. I honored them, and I'm okay with that too, because I love how I was a wife. I love how I was a mother. I love how I nurtured them, because I am a nurturer by nature. So I laid down those pieces of me that I had before to pick up new hats that I call new roles. And I buried myself into that until my world kind of came to a crash. And then I had to look at myself and say, who are you?
Thank you for sharing that part of the journey. I know it can be tough to kind of reflect sometimes when we're in a process of it still in some ways. And yes, I'll be one to share that your journey is completely normal, and we do need to hear your story because there are many, many women who are trying to live and make choices according to what feels good to them. And that can be hard to do in the face of the noise, the noisy world we live in, and then everyone's opinions about how it should be done. And the truth is there really isn't any should. The should is really us figuring out each moment as the moments occur. We can't predict life as much as we try. And when we're presented something new, we do the best that we can in that moment. We make those decisions, and you owned them. And that's a really beautiful thing. I just wanted to share that. I think that it's totally okay to do it your way. And I do hear you honoring the pieces that came into your life. And I'm a new wife, and I got married at an older age. So that's totally untraditional. It's not what I expected. My mom was like not into that. So there's a whole bunch of things there that are non-traditional too. And it's always interesting to me to see who has a problem with those things that I wouldn't have guessed. So I'm sharing that, I guess, just to say, like, I relate and I feel you in making choices that were right for you in the moment and not needing to regret them. You don't need to have these resentful feelings around what brought you to this moment.
I battled with that a lot. I battled with the shame of not being married before I had my children. I battled with the shame of things that are going on right now. But I just know now that the glory is in my story, so cliche. The glory is in my story, because if I didn't make those choices and then try to learn from them, I would not be the woman I am becoming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's where the growth happens. That's what we're meant to do as human beings, is to come into that awareness and allow ourselves to have that growth, to have that reflection on the story, to have the glory in the story. And by sharing it, it only becomes more powerful. So thank you for being here and doing that process with us, because someone listening is going to feel it and find space for their own story a little bit more than they are giving themselves right now. That's the beauty of this exchange. So I truly, truly believe that. And I truly agree that the glory is in your story. Are you okay sharing a little bit about what kind of caused the moment that brought you back to wanting to bring yourself back in a little bit more and some of the pieces that you put down?
So, as my life started to grow, I started to get really comfortable in my life. I'm like, this is great. I'm a mom. My kids are great. I have a great marriage. We're killing it. We're living the dream. We live here, in America, and we have so much at our disposal, and we can help our family. We are financially, stable, and that felt really good. My husband was off doing his thing with his business, and then as our kids grew, I was able to then get back into something else that I loved. And my son is really into soccer, and he is at a really high level. And so he goes around the country for tournaments.
Wow.
And the last year he was in Spain studying abroad for soccer. And my world crashed. My world crashed in an instant. I didn't see it coming. I was completely blindsided. And there were so many different things in my life at that time. It wasn't just one thing, like sometimes you go through something and it's one thing and you can, okay, I can pull through this is one thing. I felt like, when you're in the bumper cars, that's what I felt like. I would turn boom,
Mm.
boom, boom. It was just event after event after event. It just brought me to my knees. And I'm like, God, why? Why? Why is all of this happening at once to me? I couldn't make any sense of it. And I knew there was something else. I'm so grateful for the community I had around me to try to help me to make sense of it. And then prayer and going to God and asking and asking and finally surrendering that this is outside of my power. This is outside of me. And there's a deeper purpose for this. And the beginning of the process, I have a cousin. She's amazing. She told me to journal. And I
Mm.
told her, I don't have the strength to take pen to paper. I don't have it. She said, record it,
Mm-hmm.
record it. And I said, but what if someone finds my phone? Like all my thoughts.
Mm.
And so I went on Amazon, I bought a recorder, the recorder that I used to use in like college to record like lectures.
And you wanted to be a journalist. So this is sort of
It
interesting.
was so good. And every day, I don't care if it was like 1 minute or 10 minutes, I would just record whatever thoughts I had. And I have about 2.5 years of myself recording my thoughts, my emotions. But what I loved about recording the journal, when I go back and listen, I can feel my emotion versus writing it and reading it. I can
Mm.
hear the emotion. And there's times I have to press pause because it's too much to listen to the pain. But I know I have to one day address all of that to completely heal.
Wow. That's a powerful exercise to do with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that you found a way to start because it can be overwhelming to start expressing what's going on when we're amidst so much of that. And to be able to go back and listen and feel it again is another big move for me. That would be so, I would have a lot of fear around that. But it's a powerful thing to do. And it's amazing that you have it. You can always transcribe it too if that becomes something that you want to move into another format or experience it in a different way. But what a powerful thing to do for yourself.
And I feel like it's beyond me. And I feel like that's why I was called to do that, because this will show or confirm or help other women to say that, your pain is real And you can do this too, because if I can help someone just with one part of my story, then I've done enough. I've done enough because that person then will help someone else. And then it will just keep going and going and going. And that's what we need to just empower and help each other. And there's something else there. I'm grateful that I did that. It's hard, but as I go through it more and more, as I get stronger and stronger, and I listen, I'm like, wow, listen to you 2 years ago and look at you now.
Mm.
Look at the transformation. Look at the growth. Girl, congratulate yourself.
Yes, that's a really lovely way to be able to reflect, is to see all the growth and have the gratitude of that journey going from here to where you are. And that will only continue. And you're speaking of this ripple effect that happens when we share and when we are brave enough to show up, or bold enough, however we want to reflect on that. But you said something really powerful, and not in these words, but really coming back to showing up for yourself first allows you to know how to show up for someone else, to have that ripple effect. And that's really what you're doing by stepping into a process like that with yourself. And it's continues to grow in its power when we do that.
Yeah, for sure. The ripple
Yeah.
effect. I like that. I never put a name to it until you said it just now, but you're right. It's a ripple effect.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of sharing. I mean, it has an impact that, to the degree that you may never even realize how big of an impact it is, because you're affecting people that you may never even meet by sharing with people in this way. It, for example, is a great example of that. It's already happening by you just being here. I have to ask, is your son okay? Because you mentioned him at the beginning of when things started to crumble.
Yeah. So when things started to crumble, it was that he was on his way to spend a year abroad. And I didn't know whether or not he would be there a year or 2 years or what. Everything was like I had 1,000 balls in my hand. That's what it felt like. And I threw
Mm-hmm.
them up in the air and I'm like, trying to catch them and like, where is this going? And he didn't even know what he really wanted to do. I wasn't 100% on board on having him go, but
Mm.
my son has been playing soccer since the womb. I literally remember his footprint in my belly,
Wow.
and he speaks 3 languages. So I knew he would be okay. But as a mom, to send your 15-year-old to Spain, my whole sleep pattern changed because of that. Was a lot while going through the other things that I was going through. It was just
Mm.
a lot to bear, but that's what he wanted. And I wanted to honor him and say that I know that you're capable. My son is an amazing kid. He's a teenager, so he has his moments, trust me. He has his moments. Oh, I can't believe I have so much hair right now because he has this moment, and I dye it because there's a lot of gray. But he has his moments, but he's such a good kid. And I said, I'm going to trust you to do this. And if I trust you to do this, these are the rules. And he did pretty well. I would say 85%. 85%.
Very good for a
That was
15-year-old on their
good.
own.
He was on
Yeah.
his own. I would call him. I was like, where are you? He's like, I'm on the train. I was like, you're on the train in Spain? And I'm like, biting my nails. Like, how do you know to get? He's like, Mommy, I speak Spanish. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Mm.
He's like, I found a
Mm.
barber on Instagram and I took the train. And I'm like, at 15, I wouldn't have been able to do that because I don't speak Spanish. And he was so comfortable. He did amazing. He
Mm.
really helped calm a lot of that anxiety as I was going through other parts of that season of my life. And I didn't have to worry so much of him. He made that part a little bit easy for me. I just believe because we're just so connected, my son and I had him at, late 20s, unwed, uncertain about future. And he was just like on my hip 24 hours a day. And
Mm.
so we're connected in that way. We bond in that way. And so I was very grateful that he still was very respectful of knowing that I had a lot of anxiety about him being there. And he tried to do his best to combat. And I love
Mm.
him. I love him.
I can feel all of that. That's so That's so real and so beautiful. And oh man, that would be so tough to send your baby across the world. But wow, it sounds like he's really growing in ways that he's like showing himself what he's capable of. And he's showing you what he's capable of. And that's going to be a really great foundation
Yeah.
to move forward from as a young person. So, so great.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so glad he's okay.
No, yeah, he's fine. He's back home now. He's going back to school here in the States, but still with soccer and just still a great kid. You know, he has his moments now. He wants to drive and all of that. That's another
Sure.
beast. But yeah,
Hmm.
so my kids, I've been blessed with really good kids. My daughter, my bonus daughter, really great kids, very super motivated. But my challenges really came in other areas in my life, that I didn't expect, that really were crushing and brought me to my knees.
I understand. So I'm wondering, you did this amazing, I mean, yay for your cousin having this great idea of having a process with yourself and finding ways to do that and speak your emotions for yourself, get them out is so important. Were there other ways that you started to bring yourself back to yourself during that time or just over time as you were walking through all of this?
Yeah, I wanted to understand myself a little bit more. I started to go into therapy and wanted to understand why, because I felt like there was a point where I felt like I should be over it,
Mm,
or the world was telling me I should be on and upward and
mm,
smile through it. And you got it. You've grieved enough, 10 minutes, move on. And I
mm.
couldn't understand why my emotions were so entangled and why I wasn't moving forward. It was such a struggle for me. And I started to seek answers. So I went to therapy. I had a life coach. I was in Bible study. I did it all. But honestly, when it really came to a head for me was just this past weekend. And this is 2 years in my process. They said something about like delayed trauma,
Mm-hmm.
where some people really can get over things. And in our society, we're groomed to like feel and get over like a microwave. 1 minute, press, it's done. And not everyone processes pain and trauma that way. And I was not processing pain and trauma in that microwave society. My pain and trauma was deeper than that.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was something wrong with me because I wasn't a microwave trauma processor. And I needed to figure out what. And I finally figured out there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just processing.
100%. And thank you for sharing that. And I have to say, I don't think that structure is how anyone processes. I just think that we're told that that's how it should go. And some of us are better at shoving that down. But I think it does come to a head at some point. There's a boiling point for everyone, or there's a stuck point for everyone where they meet as far as they'll go without addressing all the stuff left in the microwave,
Yeah.
you know, because it
The
doesn't go
splatter
away.
in the
Yeah,
microwave.
totally.
Yeah.
That messy ass
Yeah.
microwave
Yeah.
that exploded all over itself. And we're like, I'm just going to shut the door on
Yeah.
that. And
I'll
maybe
clean
I'll be
it.
back,
I'll
maybe
clean
I
it up
won't.
later.
Yeah, like whatever. That's fine. I'll just kind of throw it out. It doesn't really go away. Like energy doesn't go away. It doesn't evaporate into, and even then, that process turns into something else. Like it turns into other things, is what I'm getting at. And we are a society that likes to not deal with it, not talk about it. If we do, it's too much. We don't have the tools, grieving. What do we do with that? Like there's just all of these societal spaces that don't allow for us to really just be in whatever is going on or what did go on or, all of that. So it's a thing and you are normal and the processing takes as long as it takes. It might just evolve into a new version of how you process. I really do think it just continues in a way that allows you, and I mean you as in all of us, to grow through our reflections. And that's so normal. it's not super fun when we're just
No,
starting that process and
no.
it takes time. It can take a long time. It can take as much time as it needs. So it's really great that you're sharing about it.
I think when people start to understand and accept that it can take as long as you need it to, and there's no shame in that, as long as you're taking steps forward. So sometimes steps forward also means steps backwards, right?
Right.
And so you have to give yourself grace for that. There's some days I wake up, I feel like I'm on top of the world, and today I'm killing it. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, oh, what is this cloud over me? And
Mhm.
if I push through, I know that then the next day I'll take another step and another step and another step. But as long as you just keep believing, having faith, and taking a step forward, even if it means taking a step back. Like you think about dancing, you kind of go a little
Mhm.
bit forward, you go a little bit backwards, but you keep with the music and the rhythm and the flow, and eventually the dance ends and you will come to the next part of that journey. The dance will end. You'll have to do another dance, but your dance does mean a little bit forward, maybe somewhere sideways, depending on the dance, backwards, forwards, whatever. But just keep moving, keep moving. Whatever you do, keep moving.
Yeah. It reminds me too of just this idea of working through a process, like learning a dance, right? Like your muscles don't know how to move that way yet. And they might need time to rest, or they may need to work on a different section of that dance to let your legs rest or your arms, or so that those muscles can grow and learn the new segment. And it is really this sort of piecing together of a process too.
Just being patient,
Yeah.
like you say, learning a dance. That was such a good analogy. Like I think about Pilates too.
Yep.
And when I'm saying, and I'm like, I didn't even know I had a muscle there, you know?
Right.
And she's like, no, you have to build it to get to the next exercise. She's like, if you don't
Right.
do this exercise and build this muscle, you can't get to the next exercise.
Or you'll hurt
And you'll hurt
yourself.
yourself.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're out for a bit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's life. You build these muscles to get you to the next stage of life, but you have to work it. Like if I skip my Pilates session or yoga or whatever strength training you have, if you skip that step, you're not going to be strong enough for the next exercise. So you have to build that muscle to prepare yourself for the next exercise in life.
I'm hearing like it's about staying engaged with
Yes.
it, staying engaged, showing up. Because when we don't, when we miss some days, we kind of, that's the step back that we might
Mhm.
have to take. And that's okay. It's okay to miss a few days. I just want to throw that
Yes,
out
yes, please.
there.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I've missed quite a few.
Yeah. Right. We all have to take a moment sometimes and then take a break from like with the heaviness that comes sometimes with healing. I think it's also safe to say that sometimes you just need a rest
Yeah.
and take a moment to not dig into it all the time because it'll still be there yelling in that
Yeah.
microwave
And yeah,
waiting for
exactly.
you.
That mess will be waiting for you to wipe it up.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that either, to just
Right.
take a break. Because a lot of time we think that we just have to keep going, 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 because this is what the world demands of us. But we burn out and we have
Right.
nothing left to give anyone around us or ourselves.
It is a hard thing to fill your cup amidst breaking apart trauma, especially if there are things revealing themselves to you as you get, which is a common thing, by the way, to like have trauma that we didn't realize that we don't remember. And then it resurfaces when we're a bit older, when something happens in our life that brings us back to remembering and trying to like operate the normal circumstances of life during this kind of remembering can be really delicate.
What you just said was so true because in the conference there was a doctor that deals with trauma, and she gave such insight to what trauma looks like, especially when there is like past trauma that we didn't really associated with. And I'm just paraphrasing. And so I'm not a doctor, this is not medical, but she related it to be when you're giving birth and the uterus. And she said there's no nerve endings or in the uterus. This is her words.
Mm.
But, and we're all looking at her like, what? Because I felt a lot of pain. What are you talking about? And she's like, what happens is the uterus bounces around. So it bounces to your back, to your pelvis, to all of this. And that has nerve endings. And so trauma is that way that it's this ball of trauma because you're trying to deliver a baby and it bounces against neglect. Then it
Mm.
bounces against anything from your past. It bounces against childhood wounds. It bounces against previous relationships. And all of that is awakening. It awakens all of that trauma. And then everything comes to a head. Everything that you thought you kind of buried, that's what happened to me. I didn't deal with my childhood traumas and my past relationship traumas. So when I came to this part of my life, when I thought that life was bliss, everything was going great. And then all of a sudden, my life crashed and it just bounced against all my traumas of my past. And everything was like, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then I was forced to deal with it all.
It sounds overwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that will take time.
Yeah. And I'm on a healing journey. I feel much stronger and better than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I really feel grateful because they say that God doesn't put you through this for nothing. There's a purpose for my pain. And my purpose is to completely heal and then offering that space to someone else to do the same.
Yeah, I can feel that that's what you're working on. And you're already doing it by bringing things to life amidst all of this. You know, you launched a business, you launched a creative brand, you're working on a book, which we haven't talked about yet. You know, you're doing a lot of awakening in parts of yourself that are so true and authentic to who you are that you're kind of finding ways, and this is my interpretation. So you reflect back if I'm getting this right, but it sounds like you are finding ways to fill your cup while you're not awakening in one corner of your life, meaning the darkness that came back, but you're also awakening parts of yourself that you're remembering were parts of your joy and parts of who you are and your authenticity and your magic and how you bring things to life and your visionariness, because that's what you're creating from is this vision and you're trusting yourself. I mean, all of that, those are superpowers. Being able to come back to that as well, like you're awakening a lot of gifts at the same time.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty in the ashes, right?
Mm.
So as I'm going through this phase, I am awakening that girl that had so much ambition and so much joy in creating a life for herself that at that time didn't involve kids or her husband. But I see that again. I feel fresh. I feel new, even through the
Mm.
pain. And it feels really good. It does. As I'm getting out of that gloom, and, there's still so much more to deal with, but I am grateful for the days I wake up and I am creating like my brand. I created my brand through the hardest pain that I've ever endured in my life. And I can't believe I birthed that as I'm burying something. So there's life and death connected. And I'm learning so much about myself. All the things I knew about myself 25 years ago, yes. But all the things that I'm learning about myself as I'm transitioning into this next phase of my life, I feel so good. I remember my girlfriend, I'm sitting on the beach with my girlfriend, and I was like, I'm scared. I'm
Mm.
so scared. And she's like, how can we twist that? Can you be excited about the next chapter? And I said, for a long time, I didn't think about that. And over the weekend, I had a conversation with her and I said, do you remember when you said that to me? And I said, I understand what you mean. because I'm now stepping in that space of being excited about the next chapter of my life because I think the best is yet to come and it's so beautiful.
That's amazing. What an amazing way to kind of come back to your joy amidst the grieving and amidst the all of the ashes that you've been walking through. That, it's an alchemization process too. And it is truly the cycle of life of, I think that's true here as well, as when we do bury things, we create opportunity to grow something new. And it gets to look a little different because you're a little different now than you were, like you said, 25 years ago, or when you were young, or younger, I should say.
Well, 25 years ago, I was only 2 years old, to just be clear.
Totally. Me too. But like finding the fun, finding the joy,
finding joy again is so awesome.
Yeah. And so for a long time, I didn't think the two could coexist. Like you had to do the shit and then you could get to the joy. And it's not true. It's like the two can. And if you can believe it, it's better if they coexist.
Two things can be true at the same time.
Yes,
that's exactly. What I'm learning. Yeah.
Like you can smile and still feel like shit and mean it, and like be joyful and grateful at the same time, which sounds so contradictory. Those nuances are really there when we allow them to be.
Yeah. Can't be so rigid and just like control. This is how it has to be. No, you have to flow sometimes. And that's what I had to learn. I had to stop fighting against the current and ride that wave. Sometimes that wave is going to pull you down and sometimes it's going to rise you to the top, but you can't resist the current.
Yeah, I mean, you can try.
You can try, but it might work for a little bit, but you're going to tire.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of us try. I test that all the time, even though, I have all the tools and I know all the things, which is where I get caught up in my own shame and my own guilt is I start beating myself up. Like, why are you doing this? You know not to do that. Like, and it just like feeds itself in this very like ridiculous way.
Yeah, I know.
I share that just to say like,
I know
all of it happens and it's just coming back to the awareness and knowing that you can let go of that you can just flow.
Yeah. And even when you don't, be okay. Give yourself grace. I really don't think we give ourselves that. We're so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
So hard. And, we can do but so much. We can do but so much.
Yeah. Giving ourselves grace is a practice. And it's something I talk about a lot as self-compassion and self-kindness. And grace is part of that. Self-gratitude is part of that. And what I realized is when I started to practice that for myself, I suddenly had so much more grace for others. I had so much more compassion for others. Like it just became so much easier to see them as human beings just trying to figure this shit out, just like I was, right? Like
no expectations.
Rather than,
or less expectations.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, oh, why didn't they do that? Or that idea of like, being against, like someone being against you versus we're all just doing this together is really sort of the shift. But I think we can really walk through that shift by caring for ourselves. And it comes back to what you were sharing about walking through in truth and sort of walking through everything that you're remembering and that's going on and that how the trauma is hitting the reality that you're experiencing now and all of that will make space for the ripple effect because you're taking care of yourself first.
Yeah. So important. We get so caught up in the day to day and doing everything that we think and checking the boxes and then you're depleted. And then when something really major comes and you're depleted, it's that much harder.
Oh yeah. It can feel impossible.
Yeah.
At that point. And that's burnout too.
Self-care is a daily choice. Even when you're not thinking you're facing anything major, if you're just going through life, but self-care is such a major thing to do to prepare you for those really heavy days.
It's a foundation. For that super plus day.
Yes, but a super plus day.
That's great. So speaking of foundations and preparing ourselves, I'm wondering if the book that you're writing or working on or planning to write, tell me more about that and sort of what that's a part of. Is the story that we're talking about part of the book, or is it a different part of the journey?
Absolutely. Because this is the season when I really find Anika. And I want other women to feel like, or other people, but it's mainly for women. When you feel like the bottom just drops and you have nothing to hold on to. So for me, it's my faith, and you get a little exclusive. When I look back on what, why, and when, I remember laying on my bathroom floor, naked, in tears. I was numb, and all I needed to feel was, so I put my cheek against the bathroom floor that was cold because I needed to feel something because I was so numb from the pain. And I remember crying out, why, God? Why? And he showed me why. And I want to take people through that journey of my why and my deliverance, and to show them that they too have a why. So that's what the book is going to be about. It's like
Mm.
reliving that moment always brings me like, I can feel my body tense up because I will always relive that moment.
It's like a totem in some ways.
Yeah.
To bring you back to how you found it, your why.
Mm-hmm. And he showed me my why. I wanted to know why this pain was happening, but he wanted to show me why my purpose is happening.
Ooh, that's powerful. What a reframe, what a switch in how to look at what's happening. Like it reminds me of your friend when you were feeling, sort of stuck in fear. And she was like, well, what if you were excited? What if that's what the fear means? Or, I'm adding to it, but
No, shift that mindset a little
yeah,
bit. And it's not easy. And I don't want everyone to think that you just wake up and like, I'm going to change my mindset and everything's going to be better. No, it
right.
is a process. It really is a process. And you have to be gentle with yourself.
I mean, I love the idea of questions. And that's what you have shared throughout your story with us today is speaking up and talking to people you trust, speaking for yourself, asking questions, asking God, and things show up for you. That puts things in motion too. And it makes space for another possibility. And that's what a reframe is. And it's another way to look at something. It's another possibility. It's another option. And wow, purpose is such a great option compared to pain, but it does get to be sort of connected because it helps us see the purpose sometimes.
Yeah. It's necessary. It's necessary. Refine, like, how do you find goal and how do you make goal? And like, you have to like refine it. There's a process. So how do you make grapes into wine, right? Like there is a process to all of that. And you have to honor and respect all the parts of the process, but you can't get stuck in every phase. Like you have to keep moving through all the phases. So don't get stuck, but honor it, grow, learn, move forward. Honor, grow, learn, move forward.
The great mantra. I was going to ask you if you had one takeaway for someone else you might be having a moment that they're struggling through right now or awakening to. I feel like you just said it, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to say a little more if you'd like.
Give yourself a hug
Hmm.
because you might depend on others to do it and they won't, but you can.
So true and very beautiful.
There's a friend I have, and he's my prayer partner. And when he hugs me, he gives me this biggest bear hug. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Brendan, I can't breathe. But it's so comforting. And that's part of my line with the compression. Like it hugs you. So for me, when I'm feeling kind of everywhere, and it just brings me back like, I love me. God loves me. And that's enough for today.
Yeah, that's a great place to land. So how can we find your clothing line and you and connect with you?
You can definitely connect with me on the website at lasloungewear.com. Everything, Instagram, TikTok. I'm so bad with social media. But everything is LAS Loungewear for TikTok, Instagram, website, LinkedIn, Pinterest is all LAS Loungewear, LAS Loungewear. And if you want to connect with me on a personal level, feel free to my Instagram, Anika McKelvey, and I'm there. And just send me a message. Just say, hey, I listened to you, or if you have any questions or anything. And once the book is out, I welcome so much feedback and want to hear stories and journey with you.
I love that. That's such a beautiful invitation. And what an amazing conversation. Thank you for being here, being you, and being exactly where you are in this moment. And it was a great talk for me. So thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Boss Goddess podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're inspired and ready to take action on bringing your passion to life with podcasting, then be sure to get my free Activate Your Passion with Podcasting blueprint at boss-goddess.co/activate to get started. That link is also in the show notes, but here it is again, boss-goddess.co/activate. And I'll see you on the inside.